Welcome along to the On the Whistle podcast. I'm your host, Zayn Nabbi. We have Africa's biggest football braai, and today we've got one of the most distinguished, one of the nicest, one of the men who can spot talent better than the blind bat that is Courtney Freese, and most of us in South Africa, Coach Cavin Johnson. We're going to get to him in a minute. Courtney Freese, how are you doing, my brother? Are you enjoying the English summer?
Zayn, I couldn't be more happy. It's 16 degrees where I am. It's summer. There's no flies. There's no mosquitoes. There's no sweating. It is beautiful. I cannot wait for rain to come. I'm so happy, Zayn. I hope the sun never comes back.
And Courtney loves the cold because you are around Africa's biggest braai. I'm your host, Zayn Nabbi. Have the pleasure of doing this pod. We love to hear from you. So if you're listening out there, please up on our social media accounts, OTW_podcast on Twitter, now known as X, and Instagram. And also, please just search for the On the Whistle podcast on Facebook and YouTube. Post comments, leave reviews and questions. We'll get to the mailbag later in the show and we'll read some of those. But please talk to us. We don't have enough friends. We want to make the party bigger. But today, it doesn't get any better than having Cavin Johnson on our pod, a man who I said, incredibly distinguished, had a lot of coaching roles, but unlike us in the Northern Hemisphere, in the Southern Hemisphere, he's incredibly wrapped up and warm. Coach, welcome to the pod.
Thanks, Zayn. Thanks for having me again, and thanks to Courtney for having a 16 in London. Wow, what an amazing summer.
Coach, it's always a pleasure to see you, man.
Coach, we love having you on. I have to ask you look very warmly wrapped up. I'd imagine you in Johannesburg. What do you eat and drink to keep warm in the winter in South Africa?
For me,
yes,
I'm a soup man. I like soup, and my wife makes one of the best soups.
Wow. What is a favorite soup that she makes? What is your favorite soup?
Well, I just like the plain vegetable one.
Wow. You know what, Coach? I was just doing some reading today and it said you're 65 and I'm like, that soup looks like it's the elixir of life because you look younger than Courtney Freese.
No, that's...
Well, I'm still playing, Zayn. I'm still trying to make it. And I've said to Safa, I haven't retired. Where's my call-up? So, I'm still trying to make it, man.
Kevin, do you think you'd ever take up Masters coaching?
Masters?
Yeah,
no, that's a different ball game, huh? Masters is a different ball game. That's a different ball game.
Well, listen, Coach, we're going to get into the pod now. It's so good to have you on. I always love to hog the ball, so I'm going to let Courtney go first. But it'd be amazing just to hear some of your reflections on your most recent coaching post at Kaizer Chiefs, one of the giants on the African continent. A team that has a very loyal, colorful following. But obviously, it's a tough place to manage, it's a tough place to coach. What was your experience like coaching there most recently?
Zayn, if we start, I think coaching in itself is not a difficult job. You have to be passionate about the sport first. But coaching at Kaizer Chiefs is a different level. But the time spent there was greatly appreciated because I did not sign up to be the head coach. And I was there for probably less than a month when the chairman called me and he said, "Can you help?" And I said, "Sure, I'll help you. But I did not sign up at your club to be your head coach, which is a completely different kettle of fish." And by saying that to me, I had to put on a different cap completely, knowing, like you just said early on, they have a very, very big following in South Africa, and they haven't had success in the last 9 years. So it was obvious that saying I'd try was one thing, but accepting the job halfway through the season, automatically your back is against the wall. And then you've got to come up with a lot of different ways, a lot of different tries. And I did not go there with my own technical team. I did not take the job up with my own assistant coach or my own analyst, my own goalkeeper coach, my own fitness coach. I went on my own. So the challenge was about first of all knowing to go in and finding out who you are working with and what you are working with, what type of people they are, and that in itself can take a few months on its own. And then you've got a group of players that probably half of them also new at the club, not have played for a big brand like Kaizer Chiefs. So in that thing, you could also say that they up against the wall as well. Yeah, they have the new coach. They themselves is getting used to the culture in the club. They themselves have not been champions where they come from. They might have been good players, but not champions or not winners, not trophy winners and things like that. So there's a whole mixture of a lot of little, I call them little things that happen around people's heads besides being able to play the game. And I've had success like this at other clubs. When I looked at it, I thought, you know what, we did a good job at Platinum Stars. I thought I did a good job at AmaZulu when we were deducted 6 points and we were also backs against the wall and things like that. But in reality, that was not the case. The brand was a different brand completely, and that throws a lot of other things into the pot, if I may say that. And probably by the time you close your eyes and open your eyes again, you realize, wow, I've been here 5 months, and really the results have not come our way. Yeah, and that was the end of the season. They did not finish well. Ended up 10th on the log. But I think as a technician or as the manager of the team, you can only talk after the game or after the amount of games you've played, where you put together and you analyze and then you see. But you know what? It was hard for everybody. And if the powers that be are able to analyze that and really, really see what the problem is, then they will understand. But you as the manager can only say what you want to say up until a certain point. I mean, there were times in the games when we played, many games, we missed chances one-on-one with the goalkeeper. We missed chances, open goals, you know what I'm saying? Everything else was working, but to get to the goals and put the ball in the net didn't happen. And in football, if that doesn't happen, because that is like the winning combination, that if you train a certain way and you get in front of the goals and you have the opportunity to score the goal, you expect them to score the goal. And if that doesn't happen, then you as the manager can blow square bubbles. Nothing goes your way. You have to take the blame for that. And sometimes in those situations, then I would like to understand from other managers in the world or other managers in the same position, what do you do? The bottom line is you go back to the drawing board and you work more on finishing, and you do that constantly. And in our time there, we had a run of 8 clean sheets within the season. There were other times when we had more after that. But scoring goals, we were very, very, very bad at scoring goals. And in the end, we didn't get what we were looking for as far as that was concerned. Yeah, and then of course, it's also that time of the season where it's the end of the season. And being there in the beginning of the season, not in the beginning, halfway, where we had to sign players, that was also another area which I did believe that you don't need to sign players. I mean, the squad was already a squad of 33 players. So if you wanted to sign any more players, you could easily end up with a squad of 40 players. And then it's even, I thought it would even be a more difficult task to try and get wins under their belt. So we decided, well, let's go with the ones we have. And in the end, the ones we had, they did do a couple of good games, but more poorer games than good games. You understand what I'm saying? And
Of course,
some of the poorer games were the ones where we missed the goal 1-on-1, where you should have scored and you didn't score, where you should have passed and you didn't pass. You know what I'm saying?
of
And
course.
those are the little things, Zayn, Courtney, that in my mind was the downfall of the team.
Yeah. Coach, I was going to say, some of your best work was in Platinum Stars. I remember that 2012, 2013 season where you were PSL runners-up. From correct, you won the Umzunduzi Cup with AmaZulu when you were there. So,
Yes.
you've got a fine record. I don't need to tell you, but I'll remind people out there, you're the man who found Steven Pienaar. And, he's forever grateful for that illustrious career at Ajax, at Everton, at Tottenham. And I guess I'm framing this in a way where you're so well respected. You worked with Pizzo, you guys won and conquered Africa. So the trophies are there, the track record's there, the legacy is there. Do you think, looking back now, when you got that SOS call to come in to help the club, maybe you would have thought differently about stepping into that role? Or is it something that you just had to do?
At the back of my mind, and like I said earlier on, it's always good to analyze afterwards. Then, even a football match, you can analyze it afterwards. You can be the best. You can be the best football coach afterwards. And during the live games, it's very difficult. Yes, I do think in one moment that the SOS call was too premature for me. And if I could do it again, I would say no. But because
Coach, I'm just going to say, you walked into the lion's den. This is hard.
Yes, that's exactly.
And you try to perform miracles.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not asking us to go certain avenues, but we know that at Kaizer Chiefs, sometimes the decision making right at the top has been confusing. It hasn't made sense. And again, this isn't about throwing people under the bus. There's been a litany of this over the last few years where fans and journalists like ourselves have been confused. So I say this all, it's a it's a minefield you were walking into, Coach, with the players, the fans, and the ownership.
Look, the fact that the chairman called me and he asked me, and it only went back to what I thought I did previously with Platinum Stars, with AmaZulu. I thought that, look, if you went with the same mentality and the same effort that you used at other teams, it would work. The culture at the team is very different to any other PSL team because they have built, because this chairman Kaizer Chiefs doctor has built such a big institution over the years. You have to start from the beginning. I believe that now. And like I say, it's easy to say, I believe that now. Give me the job now, in the beginning of the season, and I will tell you exactly what you need to do and what you don't need to do at Kaizer Chiefs. Because I've acclimatized myself with who they are inside. And then you will be successful. But if you took it like I did, then exactly what you said. You are walking into a minefield and you don't know where the bombs are.
Coach, I'm just going to come in here. Listen, I can appreciate what you're saying. You get the call from Dr. Mdo, who's a giant in South African football and giant at Kaizer Chiefs. did they not give you the possibility of bringing in your own technical team? Because, listen, your pedigree as the head coach of academy, which you were brought into, is there. But they know your pathway of success. Would a team of this stature not say to you, yeah, coach, we want you to be the manager. Yes, it wasn't planned to be this way, but bring your technical team in. I just don't know what would they expect if you don't.
Again, Courtney, it's about the past experience. When I was able to work with a lot of different people and bring them on board with my mentality, and in all respect to the technical guys that are there, I did know a little bit about them, and I did know that they are good people. They are football people, and they can do football work. And like I said, the backdrop of it is when you analyze all the games, then there are some games that like we normally say, you have a goalkeeper. If he's worth 15 points a season or 20 points a season, then you can win the league. But you need the strikers to be able to put them in the back of the net. And like they always say, a good team that wins the league normally has probably one of the best defense. And your goalkeeper is the starting line. And when you look at some of the clean sheets we had over the period that I was there, we had more than 10 or 11 clean sheets, but we were not able to put the ball in the back of the net. So we had a good defense, but not good enough strikers or capable of putting it in the back of the net so that we could actually get home with the 3 points. And that is probably part of the reason why we were always up and down in the league. We could not get a momentum. You have 8 clean sheets, one after each other, but there's not an assured momentum within those 8 clean sheets, if you understand what I'm saying, Courtney.
Yeah. Now, coach, you were brought in to be the head of the academy, which must be a massive project. Okay, obviously the head coach job came later. It was offered to you later. But what was the discussion around the head of the academy role that you were brought in to do? Just so our supporters, the Kaizer Chiefs supporters, our supporters of the show, get to know what was your initial contact around that role that they brought you in to do.
Well, that role was just, it was more about aligning the team with the Kaizer Chiefs culture, and also bringing it back into a proper way of training, a proper way of developing youth players, which I know for a fact within South Africa we lack that capability. You know what I'm saying? Because when I look at when I did a study on everybody else that has come into South Africa, there's only one reference point that really hits me below the belt, or hits me to say, yes, that's a reference. For example, the reference that I like to say and use is like, if you use a Pizza or you use a Gavin Hunt, they have reference on winning a league. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
They have reference. So when they talk, they have reference. Pizza's won Champions League, he's won the league, he's won the PSL league. Gavin Hunt has won the league 4 times. And when I look at myself and I say, what reference do I have in developing players? The biggest reference we have is the School of Excellence. I think we produce some of the best players in South Africa over the years, and even now they're still producing. It's not as many as there was, but there's still the current talk about Town, the kid from Orlando Pirates. He comes from the School of Excellence. You see what I'm saying? So they're still producing. Whereas with me, I'm always saying we have La Liga in South Africa, we had Ajax Cape Town, we had Feyenoord, we had all, they've all come and gone, but they haven't produced a consistent flow of players like the School of Excellence. So we have a reference as to what we did, how it's still going. It might not be going as good as it used to go before when we were there, but it's still producing. And that is what I was going to do at Kaizer Chiefs, but at another level, a complete different level, because they are a brand. They have got, if I had to call a trialist or say trials and have the best under 17 players come to the village for trials, you'd probably get 15,000, 20,000 children would come, because everybody wants to play for Kaizer Chiefs. So at Chiefs, you would always plan to have the best 16 or 17 children at the academy. But besides that, we were also going to change the structure of the education, the structure of how we keep them within the academy, whether we do homeschooling or whether we do so that they can be better than anybody else, and also try and get them into a different culture whereby we actually expose them to a lot of international tournaments, because that only makes a better player. Because that's what we did with Stephen examples, is expose them to bigger tournaments, and then the best will come out. And probably in the next 2 or 3 years, if I'm still there, you'd probably get the best 16-year-old playing for the Chiefs first team. But you might get then the next 17-year-old and not even going to Kaizer Chiefs, but goes straight into a Tottenham Hotspur or a Manchester United or a Barcelona academy, where they are aiming higher than Chiefs first team. So we needed to build that competition amongst the kids and make sure that all happens. But there was a big task ahead of us by doing that.
Coach, I'm happy with what you said, because from what you've said, you've actually just built on my next question at the moment. You speak so glowingly about that project you were brought in to build, and I it's clearly laid out what your intent was. But you've got to admire Kaizer Chiefs for go out there and get a big hitter to head up this project in yourself. The last time I can think of somebody of such a high level going out to do this type of work, and I could be wrong, is like Mitch de Avery at the time. Cape Town really went to get someone to do this head of development work. Why, with what you've just said, or Kaizer Chiefs not saying, okay, it didn't work out at the level, but we actually hired you for the head of academy role. Why not fall back into that role? That's what they hired you for.
That's a question I'll answer another time. if that answers your question.
Coach, there's a huge generation between the older players and the new generation. Older players before, in the past, like myself when I was playing, we never even used to question the coach at all. I don't think there was a time we ever spoke to the coach when we were being told to run certain distances and do certain, never ever discussed it. But there's a new type of player. And the new type of player, the social media player, the heavily marketed player. I want to draw your attention to an incident that happened between yourself and Brandon Peterson, your reserve goalkeeping coach, during your time at Kaizer Chiefs. Now, for the viewers out there was quite a heated discussion at the end of the game between the player and yourself. From your perspective, Coach, can you tell us specifically what happened, number one, and how did you deal with it in the change room after that, if you can?
Courtney, a picture tells 1,000 words. And the picture that was painted on that particular day was like we were having a go at each other, but it was nothing. Honestly, the light is shining above my head, like we would say in the old days, and the lightning can strike. I'm telling you the truth. Nothing happened. And in the end, I had to explain to a lot of other journalists who I am as a coach. And when we are in 90 minutes, things can change a lot. You know it, Zayn knows it, you've been football players. And in one moment, I want that type of interaction with my players. And the talk was all about, coach, they not holding the ball. We were leading the game. I think that was it. We were leading the game and we wanted to win the game. And one of the players made a mistake. And I said, and he got up and he said, coach, but they're not doing the right thing. And I said, it's fine. Don't worry. Just sit down. You get what I'm saying? But I encourage my players to do that because of our bench, the way the bench is set up. If you look at the bench in England, you look at the bench in Spain, they never sit next to the coach. They always sit behind him. That's how they set their bench up. So in front is all the technical people, whereas in South Africa, it's just one long line. So there's no, you know what I'm saying? There's no divide, which we don't have in South Africa. But in all of that is, I am someone, or I am a head coach who likes interaction with my players. And fortunately or unfortunately, because of the social media gap, because of the social media that we have in today's football, you need to be aware of what that shows the general public. So yes, like you asked, how do we coach the social player? And that is another level of coaching that we have to start doing also, because right now you have more analysts, you have maybe 4 or 5 analysts, and 1 assistant coach, 1 goalkeeper coach, but the feeling on the pitch nowadays is not as powerful as the feeling if you show them a television clip. And that's the difference nowadays, Courtney. I hope I answered the question correctly as far as myself and Brandon was concerned. There was nothing. There was absolutely nothing that happened on that day that he made, that he looked like he was fighting, but he was not fighting. He was really, really not fighting. And I can protect him in front of any court of law, and he can protect me, because there was nothing. There was really, really nothing to it.
I remember you coming out after the press conference, and it was in the same week Kevin De Bruyne had an argument with Pep Guardiola. And I remember you saying, hey, listen, this happens everywhere in the world. Why are you making such a fuss about it?
Yes. I think Kevin De Bruyne told Pep to shut up.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
But that is what you want from your players, because then you know they are also in the game.
But moving on, coach, here comes my next question. What next for you? What next are you looking at? Are you looking at another head of academy role? Are you looking at another head job? Are you looking to go and support another big hitter like Pitso or Fadul out in Simba? What next for yourself?
For myself, at the moment, it's a slight sabbatical, maybe 2 weeks, even 24 hours. But we're looking at doing something, Courtney. It's either as a head coach up in Africa or head coach in South Africa for now, because I think I need to, what can I say? My image has been tainted, if I say that. Does that make sense? But also, if there comes a job as a head of academy or head of technical in a different club that has proper ambition to really make superstars, then I would do that as well. I mean, it's like when I went to Platinum Stars. Besides the success we had there, we also had, I think, very good success with the little time we spent with the academy. We had an academy there of about, I think we had 20 players. And out of that, 2 of them are playing overseas. One's in Denmark and one's in Portugal. The one in Portugal is just, I think they're trying to bring him back to Sundowns. Kodisang, he plays for Victoria or something like that. And we have Gift Links, Kabumelo Kodisang. He played for Bafana a few times, and so did Gift Links. So the success that the Platinum Stars, out of 20, you get 2 going. That's what, 2%, 10%, and that's a good return on an academy that was not run for very long. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. But coach, it seems like you still have the hunger to get out there and take a big job.
I do have. I don't think I'll ever not have that. Taking a big job, it's neither here nor there. A big club, neither here nor there. Whether you're a manager or whether you're head of youth, I think when you work in sport, whatever job you get, you have to do it with your whole heart. And if you lucky like I am, who's have the privilege of working with youngsters and with bigger guys, then Zayn, when you go out there, you do the same thing. You have to do it with everything you got. And I see at the young age and at the old age within South Africa, we have a lot to learn by and teach our players because of the different cultures within the country.
Well, Cavin, thank you for joining the pod. It's been such a pleasure having you on.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, coach. Stay warm and enjoy the soup.